is intended for a mature audience. If you are not 18 or older, stop listening and find more age-appropriate content. This show will cover topics in a satirical manner. If you are offended by any content herein, that is your own problem. As you have been warned, please do not try this at home, or anywhere else for that matter.
Today we're actually going to do something new. Not new. We've done one before.
Yep.
Crossover episode between my Lone Pistons show and my wife's
Living Well with Bad Habits.
Which mine is the automotive side. Hers is the wellness and mental health and stuff like that.
Yeah, and actually special need awareness, disabilities, it falls under all of that. Anything like, diet wise, it basically falls under anything wellness. So
do you have enough room?
He's on like every single one of our podcasts.
Yeah, Bo's kind of famous.
Yeah.
But today, so our special guest today, we have Armani Williams. Knock it off.
He's talking.
He's also kind of talkative, which usually he's not this talkative. So this is kind of the first time he's actually voiced on the show. So apparently he's happy to be here.
Yeah.
But again, sorry, I apologize. Our special guest today is Armani Williams, Craftsman Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the more research we've done, man, you've been in everything for racing.
Yeah, I was actually looking everything up last night. I was like, wow, like this is amazing. Like your backstory, everything. I was like, he is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It's just I've been through a lot in life with just living with autism and then also living the dream of being a race car driver, which is something I've always envisioned since I was a little kid. Like pretty much, I started to like cars for a bit. As a kid, you always have like the Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars and just get a whole collection of them, play racing with them. That was me growing up. And then I think I got a couple of diecast cars from NASCAR, and that's when I started learning about it. And so I wanted to learn more about it to see what it was all about. So I decided to watch a race one weekend on my TV, and I was hooked right out the bat. Just how fast the cars were going, like 180, 109 miles an hour. I thought it was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. So I wanted to watch more and more of it. And it's just how cool the paint schemes were, how aggressive the drivers were in battling for position, battling for the lead, battling for the win. And eventually, like, that love became a passion for me. And that's when one day I told my dad that I wanted to be a race car driver. And, my family didn't come from a big racing background. None of my family raced, but they kind of understood that this is something that I wanted to do. And so they decided to support me on this journey into making my dream come true as to being a race car driver. So, I started racing when I was 8 years old, racing go-karts, which, I mean, that's kind of typical when you start racing. You start out with smaller cars, particularly with go-karts. Then I moved up to the Mini Cup Series, which is like kind of a half-size version of a stock car. So it was the first time I've ever ran like a full-body stock car in my career.
Yeah.
Did that for a few years, and then I moved up into what was called the ARCA Truck Pro Series, which was a Midwest regional series. We raced at a lot of short tracks here in Michigan, in Indiana, and Ohio, things of that nature. And that same year, I believe it was 2016, I got invited by NASCAR into one of their programs called the Driver Diversity programs, where they invite a minority of drivers, like female, African Americans, drivers that were not from America, to try and help them continue to move up that ladder in their racing career. And the team that was helping to run that program was a team called Rev Racing, which was a ARCA Menards Pro Series team. And like, if you did well in that combine, then you were chosen to drive for that team for like next few years. And while I unfortunately did not get picked by them to drive one of the cars. NASCAR saw the kind of potential and impact I could make based on like my background, based on my story, and so they allowed me to move up to NASCAR in 2017. But interestingly enough, they wanted me to start out in a series they had out in Canada called the NASCAR Pinty Series. So
Mhm.
you think about it, right? Not only have I been racing here in the US, but I have the opportunity now to race outside the country and race in Canada, which was a whirlwind for me. And, racing a few of the drivers in particular, like DJ Kennington, who's come to the States to race in NASCAR, and then Alex Tagliani, if you watch like IndyCar and stuff, yeah, he used
Yep.
to be a pole center for the Indy 500 many years ago.
Oh,
And so
cool.
I'm racing against those guys who were considered the best professional drivers in Canada. And, that year really taught me a lot on just how to be a professional driver, the way you have to conduct yourself on and off the track to be ready for race weekend. And I kind of just took everything I learned from that and came back to the States, running several races in what used to be called the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East and West. It's now ARCA West and East. Then the following year in 2020, I moved up into the ARCA Menard Pro Series, making a couple starts at Phoenix and then here my home track of Michigan International Speedway up in Brooklyn,
Cool.
Michigan, which is about a half an hour away from where I'm at. Then
Oh, wow.
I'm finally moved up into one of NASCAR's top three series, starting with what they call the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, where I made a
Yep.
start in St. Louis, Missouri, called Worldwide Technology Raceway in 2021.
Nice
Did
track.
that for a few years. Oh yeah, it's a very nice track, and the people out there in St. Louis are absolutely wonderful. I would drive that track again if I had the chance. And
Yeah, they're
then
all amazing in that area. We had the chance to move down to Texas, and like just Southern people are so humble and kind and respectful, and it's like amazing the difference from being up here to down there, and like coming back here, like I noticed it right away, like the total like respect thing in regards to being up here compared to down there. So yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And no matter where you race at, you can kind of get a sense of like, how much people love NASCAR, particularly on like, different areas, right? Like for
yep,
some people, they may not have as much entertainment. So when they see that NASCAR is coming to town, that's something that they'll get excited for and want to check out.
yeah,
Yeah,
And then
everybody's
two,
pretty energetic.
right. And then to follow up what I was saying with the trucks, I did that for a few seasons. And then just this past year in 2024, I moved up into the NASCAR Xfinity Series, which is like second level in NASCAR of their top three, where I made a couple starts at New Hampshire, up in the New England states, and then down in Miami later on in the year. And so that's kind of where my journey is at. And along with that, I mean, I'm sure you've heard a lot about my story with me being diagnosed with autism and all
Yep.
that, which is
Hmm.
something that I continue to live with. And I
yeah,
kind of,
because it said that you didn't actually start speaking your first words until you were about 3 years old, is what I,
yeah, yeah, I was kind of nonverbal, shy, didn't really talk a lot, and of course, like my parents recognized it early on and
yeah,
decided, like, have me be checked in, and that's when doctors told them that I may have been diagnosed with autism right
yeah,
around 2 years old. And, given that time frame, autism wasn't really as prevalent as it is now
no,
today. The resources weren't as big then as
no,
it
they
was
weren't,
today. So, I guess my parents wanted to just know everything they needed to know about me and like what exactly I was dealing with autism. So
yep,
that way they can figure out the best ways to where they can help support me, whether I needed some help, whether from them or if there was
yeah,
resources that they could find that could kind of help me out with like some of my challenges, like with
yep.
communication, social interaction, sensory issues, behavioral issues, you name it.
Yeah, our
And
son actually didn't start speaking until he was 7 years old. So those barriers are extremely hard to get through. And us as parents, we have to advocate the most for our children and help them the most that we can to, because there's a lot of challenges that you face with this. And as parents, like if you don't advocate for your children, then nobody else is going to. And autism on like back then had several different subcategories. Like um there was like, what one was it? Like pervasive, that sort of thing. Like they had different diagnoses.
Stuff like
Yeah. And now it's just actually one specific disorder. It's specifically autism spectrum disorder now. They don't break them down into those subcategories anymore.
And we did actually find out that there's another driver in NASCAR that does deal or
Have autism as well.
yeah, we found out Cody Ware, he has it also. And I mean, just watching some of the stuff and then like your videos and stuff. I love when I go on Facebook and I see your little live videos, and you do an awesome job, I've got to say. But growing up in Michigan, I know the answer to this, but I just kind of want our fans to know it too. Who's your favorite driver?
Yeah, so my favorite driver when I was growing up, I was a big Jimmy Johnson fan. You know, like him in that 48 Lowe's car, I mean, seven-time champion, but I just like the way like he was as a driver, like he was always very competitive, would always just drive the wheels off the car. But then off the track, he came out as like kind of a cool, classy type of guy,
Yep.
and it's just you know, like he always tried to find ways to where like he could better himself as a driver, and so I kind of learned a little bit from Jimmy Johnson and tried to apply it on my own. But I mean, there's a few other drivers that I've kept an eye on, particularly with Bubba Wallace, who's in the Cup Series, only because he's an African American, and as you know, like there's not a lot of African American drivers that are drivers in NASCAR. But you're starting to see a few of them come out with guys like Roger Carruth, who's a Truck Series driver, and then LaFar Scott, who's made a few starts in the Xfinity Series. And so, like, there is some possibility for people like me, to be successful in the sport of NASCAR as well.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley, and my husband and myself own the network Shannon Family Products, and we are proud to introduce our new nonprofit group to help fight brain cancer, also known as glioblastoma. With your help, we can make a difference and hopefully one day find a cure. This type of cancer affects many people all over the world and is very rare for adults to get, as it is a childhood cancer. And this is the cancer that I am battling. With our help and the GRO, we can win this. So I ask all of you and myself to please join together and let's help the thousands of people, along with myself, to win this fight. I would like to say thank you to all of you for your support, and please go on our link to get more information on where you can donate or what you can do to help. We can make a huge difference because no one should have to fight this battle alone.
Yeah, Raja is one of the guys that I follow. I love watching him, especially if he's getting up there to win. And I mean, you can ask my wife. I'm like, because I mean, his personality, his everything about him is great, and I love watching him. I love seeing him win. I got to actually watch that truck race and watched him win. It was like, wow, cool. But that diversity program has actually helped out a lot of guys too. Because if I remember right, I think wow, why am I drawing a blank on his name now? Daniel Suarez. I think he started off from that too.
Yes, he did. Yeah. And then I think Kyle Larson also came through that program too. People don't remember that, but if you watch old videos, Kyle Larson used to race for Ref Racing in some of their ARCA programs as well. And he kind of has moved up the ladder to where he is now. So, I mean, that program has definitely helped a lot of minority drivers, to try and give them an opportunity to continue up the ladder in NASCAR and be successful. And you're seeing it pay dividends,
Yep.
Have you been to the Milwaukee Mile here in Wisconsin?
The Milwaukee Mile, I've heard of it. I've seen it on TV, but I haven't got a chance to see it in person. I mean, there's definitely a few tracks I like to go check out a race there. I know you not only have the Milwaukee Mile, but you also have Road America that's in Elkhart Lake there,
Yeah, that is a great track.
Yeah, I think you guys got like a nice road course there that I'd like to see a race there one time. The tricky part will be it's just like which section of the track am I gonna like watch it from because it's like so big,
Yeah,
So
we actually got the chance to go to the Milwaukee Mile and be down in the pits for the ARCA series. And it was phenomenal. Like just that experience was amazing. And we did it for Rise Motorsports, and we got to help him push the car down and everything. It was like an amazing experience, and everybody there was just kind, like super kind. I did have an issue with one of the drivers. I will not name names because he was very rude to the special needs kids that were waiting for him after the race to sign autographs and things like that. And the way that because he was upset, the way that he finished and the way that he acted, throwing his bag down on the ground, getting mad, stomping off, and just, basically shooing him away and got in his vehicle and left.
And we understand like drivers get frustrated and stuff like that, but you got to kind of take a step back and realize, it's the fans that are there and they're the ones paying the money, and
Yeah,
it's always
they
good
don't.
exactly.
They're excited, and when you've got special needs kids and things like that, they don't always understand that. And so when they see their favorite race car driver getting upset, they're like, okay, what's going on? Like, what did I do? Like, why is he treating us like this?
But
So
that's one thing I do got to say though. I mean, when I first like came up across your profile and that and started, sending friend requests and started talking to you, I was showing her the videos and she was like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's a driver." I'm like, "Yeah, this guy's really cool." And just, I mean, like I said, you address the fans in a whole different light that a lot of other drivers don't address them, especially on social media. And it's great
it's
seeing,
refreshing.
yeah, seeing this newer style coming up. And I mean, man, my hat is off to you.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. And it's like obviously like when you go to a race in person, it's such a different vibe, such a different experience than watching it on TV. And it's like for the fans, it's like, people have no idea. Like there's a lot of fans that watch our sport in terms of NASCAR and all that, and for somebody like me, like I want to try and find a way to, make their experience like as great as possible, and just try to engage with the fans as much as possible, whether that's, in the garage when, people tell me to ask me to sign autographs or we have a little autograph session. It's like, in some ways I try to help get back to the fans as much as possible, because they come to see us race, they come to see us put on a show, and, we got to make them as happy as possible. We can't like take them for granted.
Yep, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
what was the first race that you actually went to? Because I know you said your dad took you to a race. What race was that?
Yeah, so I'll remember this for as long as I live. It was at Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400
Oh,
in
cool.
2010. I was 20 years, I mean, not 20, excuse me. I was 10 years old. And I think me and Dad, we were able to try and get tickets for that race, and we decided to get one of my dad's friends to come with us for the race. And I remember we were sitting in that little short chute where turn 3 and 4 was.
Okay.
And like, how big that track is, right? From
Yeah,
where we were
Yep.
sitting, like it's like once the cars went out in the distance at turn 1, you couldn't even see them. You had to wait till like they got to turn 3 or something and just like fly by you. That's the one thing I remember vividly. I mean, the weather was great, but it was hot. But I mean, just seeing the cars just like fly by us in person, it's just TV doesn't do it justice, just how different it feels being at the racetrack, just hearing the sound of the engines
hmm
and like, just seeing all the action. It was such a fun time. Unfortunately, my guy Jimmy Johnson, he started well and didn't really have that good of a race, but I didn't really care about that. I
Right.
just I just cared about just trying to soak up every moment of this
Yep.
experience of
Yep.
being at a racetrack in person. And, it's a race that I'll never forget because of how much fun it was being there.
Do you remember who won it?
Yes, I do. So it ended up being Jamie McMurray, who used to drive
Oh,
for
I remember.
Earnhardt
Okay.
Ganassi Racing. He
Yep.
had the #1 tracker boat car and
Yep.
all that. So he ended up winning a race. But I mean, he won a few Crown Jewel
Yeah.
races that year, and that just happened to be one of them. So, but still, it was such a fun time. I enjoyed it a whole lot.
Yeah, I think every time they show highlights from Jamie McMurray, that is one of them where you see him fly across the bricks with a checkered flag and stuff.
Yep.
That is cool that you get to say that you were there, because whenever he's on and he's commentating a race, they seem to always put that in that he won the Brickyard 400, and they always show that. So that's awesome, man. I mean, the first track I went to, because I've been to two races, and that was actually the one about a half hour from you. I was there in '94 and I got to watch when my favorite driver when I was a kid, it was Rusty Wallace.
Mm,
So I actually got to watch him uh, beat Earnhardt like right at almost on the last lap. It was great because we were sitting in turned. We're kind of I don't know if you'd really call it a front straight because it does the big bend right there. It's like a big D shape, but we were like right out of turn 4, so it
I
was really
see.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan does have like, I mean, you could call it a straightaway, you can call it like a short bend, but I mean, I don't know. It's just we always think of like straightaways as straightaways, so
Hmm.
that's pretty much the front straightaway. It's just shaped
Yeah.
a little bit different. So,
And yeah, I'll
yeah.
never forget that moment because it was, like, I mean, I was 12 years old. I was with my grandpa, and that was just awesome. And my grandpa was a big Dale Earnhardt fan. And when Rusty went around him, I'm like, yes, yes. And he's like, oh man, I paid all this money for this, and my guy's not going to win. But I'm like, my guy did. So I mean, it's exciting when you're actually there. And then like she was talking about when we got the chance to be down in the pits with Rise Racing. And that is a whole new perspective when you're down there. And I mean, being a race fan, I'd imagine the first time you got out on the track in one of those cars, you were probably like, wow, now this is different. I love this. It had to be a whole different experience than sitting up in stands or being down in the pits.
Yeah, definitely. I think I had that opportunity to do it the first time when I also went to Michigan the following year after Brickyard for Hunter. 11 years old. I think we ended up getting pit passes for them. And they already had the car staged on the grid on pit road. And so we were able to get a close up of it. And man, they looked a lot bigger than they were on TV. I mean, I don't know, it's just whatever TV captures, it just doesn't do it justice when you
Nope.
go and
No,
see
it
things
doesn't.
in person.
No.
And you think the cars look small until like you see them up close and they're
No.
much bigger and they look just fast, meaner, like it was
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
awesome.
Well,
So
it's also
yeah.
the sensories, the smells, like everything. You just take it all
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Like, I love the smell of racing fuel. I like the smell of the rubber. Like, I grew up in a garage. I did drag racing. So, and I did go-kart racing myself too.
Hmm.
So, and my driver growing up, like, I love Sterling Marlin, and then Casey Kane. So, like, I'm a Dodge fan. I'm Mopar all the way. So yeah,
You're converting to 4.
yeah, I am. I'm getting it. But because my husband is Ford, he loves Fords, Mustangs, that sort of thing. So yeah, we're getting there, but I still love my Mopars.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering though if you were going to say when you were from Michigan, if you were going to be like, oh, Brad Keselowski or anything like that. But he's he's my favorite driver, and she's got Joey Logano
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I kind of pay attention to some of the Michigan drivers out there too. Like there's not only Keselowski, but even Eric Jones and
Oh,
then
that's
Carson
right.
Hocevar are also from Michigan as
yes,
well,
I love
So
Hocevar.
yeah.
I love it every
Right.
time. Like he's just hilarious. Like his driving, I love it. He's just like brutal out on that track, and it's just like wow,
He
Hocevar.
races like her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he does.
absolutely.
Hmm.
And what you were speaking of with Kislowski, I got a chance to meet him one time, which funny enough, it wasn't at a racetrack. There's a mall out in Troy, Michigan, where he and probably the Penske team were hosting a private party inside the mall.
Oh, cool.
So I went to go to the mall one time, because we heard they were going to be there, and we just kind of sat outside, just me waiting to meet Brad Keselowski, and he came across as a cool, Michigan native type of guy, somebody you would expect. And I ended up getting a picture of him, So, I mean, that was one
Awesome.
of the few times I got to meet like an actual Cup driver, So, you know, being I was probably 15 years old at the time, I was kind of starstruck a little bit, but I mean,
Yeah,
what a moment that was. So,
yeah, I'm sure. Like I couldn't
yeah.
even imagine, like, being able to see my favorite race car driver in person.
You probably did better than I did because I got to go to one of those autograph sessions when I was a little kid, and Rusty was signing the autographs.
Hmm.
Walked up in the line, and my mom was like, "It's Rusty. Here you go. Say hi." And I just looked at him like, "Dun, dun, dun."
Yeah, it's been taught.
And Rusty's like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, And she's like, "His name's David." He goes, "Okay, cool." Signed it, and he was a very nice guy. And now watching him, it's like, man, wow, they look old now.
Yeah.
But back
Right.
then, I mean, he was like larger than life to me, and I mean, he was driving the Black Miller number two, and just I love that car. And I think it was a special thing where he actually brought. I don't know if you know anything about Rusty Wallace, but his favorite car was Midnight.
Oh yeah,
And
like the Midnight Blue or something like that.
yeah,
Or
because
just
he
Midnight, yeah.
it was just yeah, and he brought that car, and I got to see that car in person. That car, I know he's got sitting in a museum. It's restored, and he always loved that chassis, and I think that was the most winning chassis for him. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was great. I got to see him and that car, and it was just kind of like, oh wow.
Yeah, it's amazing when you get to meet, somebody that you've admired pretty much your whole life.
Hmm.
So with dealing with autism and driving, have you noticed any hurdles, or does it seem pretty easy? Or
I don't think there's been as many hurdles as you would think there were. I mean, I think like when it comes to autism, well, I believe the biggest strength we have is that we have a laser-like focus on things that
Yeah,
catch our interest, things that catch
yep,
our eye. So, whatever we pinpoint as something that we like, we're just kind of locked into it. And that's all we think about every single day in our minds or for what we see. And so I think when it comes to racing, it's no different for me because I've always loved racing for a long time and it's all I can think about. So it's like anytime I'm at the track, I'm just soaking up like everything that I love about the sport, and being able to talk with other drivers, talk with
yep,
owners, teams, and things like that, knowing that they have the same interests that I do as far as racing, and it's easier to have a lot of communication, a lot of social interactions. I
yeah,
get to connect with a lot of people that share the same passion that I do, and that's all you can ask for. It's just to find your own kind of people. And of course, like when it comes to racing, it's like once I strap into that car and I start that engine, everything else I'm thinking about is completely goes away. And I just am laser like focused on what I need to do to accomplish what I need to accomplish in a race, as far as like strategy, where do I want to finish, and then I'm always like focus on like the cars around me. You talk about like this sensory environment. I'm always looking at all the cars that are on track and like
yep.
who I have to chase, who I have to try and like keep behind, and just basically just drive the car as hard as it can possibly go with all that I got, and just push it to the limit,
so it's
and
almost like an advantage for you because you can
Yeah.
actually focus in on just what you need to do instead of sitting there all of a sudden your brain like my brain wanders a lot.
Well, yeah, you have ADHD. So,
So yeah, it's like all over the place. And would be nice is if I had that and I could just focus on getting one thing done. And you've probably got more of an advantage on that aspect than a lot of the other drivers do out on that track because I've
well,
imagined.
I say autism is a superpower. That's how I look at it. Like that is a superpower. They actually can achieve more than any regular person, and I'm sorry I put it that way. But like, can I ask, do you have a photographic memory with being
uh
autistic?
photographic memory. Can you be specific on that, please?
Like, okay, so like our son has a photographic memory with his autism. So like at school, he would read something on the board, like a short story type thing, and he literally could go back up and write it word for word, like later on in the day. So,
Hmm.
but he also learned with what's called the PEC system. So that is all the pictures because he was nonverbal for so long. Like I had to take pictures of everything around my house, put labels on everything, put pictures as labels on everything. So because he gets so frustrated because he couldn't speak what he needed, so he'd go into the folder and flip through the pictures and then point to what he needed. So
Yeah.
like that's how he ended up with like that type of photographic memory. But that's like with movies. He can quote lines like from when he was little. And it's
Right.
just something that he enjoys and he remembers. And that's like he's really good at certain video games too. So that's why I was wondering.
I think if there's one photographic memory that comes with my autism, I think it's the fact that whatever I'm thinking or imagining in my mind, I have like this tendency to kind of like almost talk out loud a little bit of like what exactly I'm thinking, right?
Yep.
Because it's like, how like you see the shows and movies, and it's like, the person's not saying anything, but like they have like some sort of narrative voice of like what their
Yeah.
mind's saying, all
Yeah.
that. Like I almost try to use that kind of ability, but it's hard to kind of express it without saying anything. So I've
Yeah.
always had a tendency to do that. So sometimes, oh, what I found helpful is that whatever I'm thinking, like sometimes I would take like writing classes, right?
Hmm.
And I think it's a good way in terms of like just typing or writing out like exactly what's on your mind. So
Right.
for me with my autism, whatever I'm thinking of wanting to put down, I would pretty much just write it down based on my thoughts, based on my perspective and all that, you know.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
I would say that would be one memory that I remember vividly of what I would do a lot.
Awesome. Now you're going to school, right, for mechanical engineering?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I recently got done with college for studying mechanical engineering just several months
Congratulations.
ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So I went to a university up in Rochester, Michigan called Oakland University. And, you know, it's not as big as, say, like the University of Michigan or Michigan State, but
Right.
like, you know, it's kind of, you know, a middle ground. They have a nice campus. And I think the reason why I wanted to go there was not that like they had something in mechanical engineering that I could study in, but they had some great resources and support with people with disabilities, including people, you know, who had autism and all that, you know. And so I think for that alone, that's why I decided to go to that school.
Yeah.
And, you know, it kind of took me a while, you know, like in terms of like trying to get through all my classes so I can get myself the degree, which was my goal, right? But I'm glad I got that college experience, at least like, you know, first couple years, like living on campus, getting to meet new friends, you know, which I still connect to this day. And, you know, just that experience trying to, I don't know, commute back and forth. I mean, it's not like I lived too far away from the university. It was like 40 minutes away. So it was an easy drive for me, maybe
Yeah.
not some for others, you know, but just getting that full college experience and just getting that degree was not only important for me, but for my entire family as well, knowing that they went to college as well. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like, because with racing, right, it's just like, it's a sport that you just never know how long you're going to be doing it for. Some
Right.
drivers are fortunate enough to be doing it forever, but some are not, you know? And so there's no guarantee in terms of how long I'm going to be racing for. And so racing is kind of like a plan A. You got to kind of figure out
Right.
like your
Yep.
plan B, like what's something else in life that you can
All
do,
that.
what's something else that you can
Yep.
contribute to. And so,
Yep.
you know, that's why, you know, going to college and, you know, getting myself an education is important. I mean, it's not something that a lot of race car drivers would do because I mean, they get done with high school and then they go to their careers, right? You know, but
Yep.
I thought it was important to find something else that I could be good at other than racing.
That is amazing. Kudos to you.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
another driver out there, and he actually, he's a Ryan Newman. I think he had an engineering degree also, and that helped him out quite a bit in racing.
Yeah, I think he went to Purdue University in mechanical engineering, you know. So I mean, there's some there's some comparisons there, you know. So
Yeah. So, like with all your autism, you probably know all the stats and statistics and everything when it comes to racing.
yeah, pretty much. I can almost give you the winners of all the drivers from the Daytona 500, which drivers have won the Daytona 500 and which year and all that. So I could
Hmm.
probably give you that.
Yeah,
So
my nephew is the same way, but it's with football. And he is literally only 9 years old. So, like, he knows everything about football, all the stats, statistics, like numbers, who won what in what year. Like, it's amazing.
I think this
yeah,
dog thinks his bad habits pause. He's co-host on a show of his own that we put together.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Our
He's
animal
excited.
show.
He's excited about this, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, I'm just really, amazed, and it's awesome the fact that we got to talk to you on this stuff.
Yes.
And I mean, I am hoping that, you have a long career in NASCAR.
I do too.
I'd love to be able to be like, we knew him back when.
Yep, exactly.
I suppose I know we've been running it's been a little over and a half hours. So,
Oh, boy.
I'll let you get back to what you were doing. I do really appreciate it. And
Yes,
I know
your
we-
time has been amazing, and thank you for that. We appreciate that.
and we did end up talking to our sons about possibly having the chance to do an interview with you. And our one son's been driving us nuts now. So
Yeah,
so
and that has autism. She is like super excited. So
so I'm hoping we can schedule something. And I know, like I said, I know you're really busy.
mhm.
So, but I just want to say thank you for coming on. You're always more than welcome to be. Do you mind? You're always more than welcome to come back on.
This dog right here is actually our autistic son's. He's very protective of him, and
Yeah.
he also has epilepsy in that, and he's also got what's called mosaic Down syndrome. So,
Okay.
Bobo actually knows like right before he's gonna have a seizure, and he'll like come and alert you. And yeah, he does not let anybody mess with his boy. Like that's his boy. So
and he's very vocal for a child.
yes, he is. Child aren't normally vocal, but he is very vocal.
But I just want to say thank you. Man, it's been a great episode. You are an amazing, amazing person.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun.
We definitely would welcome you back anytime you'd want to come back on.
And is there anything out there that you want to get the word out on?
Promote or anything?
Yeah, so I think really, for people that want to check out what I'm doing, they can follow me on a lot of social media platforms like Facebook, Armani Williams, or Twitter, X. I call it Twitter, or some people call it X,
Same.
but
Yeah.
yeah, at Armani Williams _. Then at Instagram at Armani Williams Racing. And then I even have TikTok too, at Armani Williams 444.
Okay.
And there's some cool things that we're trying to work on. Like, I know I have a website, but like,
Yeah.
that's something that we're working on and should be able to launch pretty shortly, and then
I see you guys have merchandise coming out soon too.
yeah, well, yeah, the merchandises we're still working on that. And believe me, a lot of people ask me about merchandises all the time, and so that's something we're working on. And as soon as we get that all put together, we'll let everybody know about that. And then as well as, something that we're working on later in the year as far as trying to develop coloring books, which is more so trying to tell a story about me in terms of my life, my journey with autism, as well as racing, to try to give some kids who've been impacted by autism something to cheer about, give them some
Right.
hope, some positivity, of what's possible out there for people with autism, so those are a lot of things that we're working on.
Well, how many of you guys have die casts out? Let me know because I want one.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, will do.
But we'll let you go. And again, thank you. Yeah, I just can't say enough about what you've accomplished and everything else. And yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, you can ask him. I didn't shut up last night at all talking. Like I was constantly like super ecstatic about this today. So yeah.
Yeah, the whole time I was trying to put the promo together, she kept like, "Oh, he did this, he did this." It's like, babe, it's a short promo. We can't put a lot in there. But so I'll let you get on with your day. Is there anything you want to finish off?
I just want to say you're an amazing individual and keep doing what you're doing.
And
Yeah,
we'll
thank
definitely be
you.
rooting for you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you have a good day, sir.
All right, you too, guys. Thank you.